Welcome back to the next video in my series of getting the input from leaders as to what their favorite landmark or building in Napa is. Introducing Beth Painter, City Council District
2.
2.
District 2.
Okay.
Good morning, Lee. Thanks
Good
for having
morning.
me. We're sitting at Westwood Hills Park, and I selected Westwood Hills because 2021 marks the 45th anniversary of the City of Napa creating its very first open space park. So I thought that,
And not to cut you
Go
off,
ahead.
Open space meaning that it is not just your typical little park with some swing sets and things of that nature.
Exactly.
It's pretty expansive.
It's very expansive, and it was really the first of its kind in 1976 to think about. We had parks with play equipment and ball fields, all very important for the city of Napa, but in 1976 this was the very first park, about 110 acres, purchased solely to look at creating trails, open space, and preservation and conservation of the natural habitat.
Yeah.
Exactly.
1976, that was a good year.
It was a great year. I understand we both graduated high school.
Yep. Not the same high school, but we
Not
both
the same high
graduated
school. Yeah, it was, 1976 was also the bicentennial year for our country. It was a really, I remember it, of course, as high school graduation, a really exciting year anyways.
Right.
But let me give you just a couple of facts on the park. Go ahead.
One more little interruption about 1976 and the bicentennial year. My high school, Santa Rosa High School, I was part of the centennial graduating class of the school in the bicentennial year.
Wow.
So, top that.
Yeah, I'm sorry, can't do that.
All right, let's hear some specs here.
and this was 45 years ago, right? And so what I want to do is give, first of all, a little context. The park is about 110 acres. That's a lot of acreage for a city park. There's about 7 miles of hiking trails throughout the park. As many of you have walked the park, there's benches located in lots of different beautiful locations. Many of us, including myself, just absolutely love to get to the very top, and you've got one of the best views of the city of Napa from the top of Westwood Hills.
And it's not a really difficult hike up there.
No.
Obviously it's all uphill, but it's not very far.
No, it's not very far. And you can come at it from different ways. The fact that there's 7 miles of trails, one day you can go up one way, you can come up another way. There's an entrance off Thompson Avenue. So it's just, it's a beautiful park.
And what forethought to have done that 45 years ago.
Yeah, so let me give you a little bit of history on that forethought. There was a planner who worked for the city of Napa in the 1970s. His name was Mike Joel. And Mike had that vision and forethought to say, we should purchase this property for open space and for preservation and conservation of natural habitat. That hadn't been done within the city up until that time. Mike actually helped the city put together the purchase deal in 1975. You want to know what the purchase price was?
It's going to be ridiculously low, but I don't want to blow the surprise with something that's even lower.
It was the original purchase was about 106 acres for $160,000. So it's roughly $1,500 an acre. And I just want to take a moment to say we really should all be extremely grateful to Mike for that forethought and vision to purchase this property at that time.
And if you're not from the Napa Valley, just to put that into perspective, it is not uncommon for property to sell, especially if it's vineyard property, $500,000 for 1 acre versus $1,500.
$1,500, yeah. So, there was a lot of effort and work put in many, many years ago for all of us to enjoy this property. I want to give a quick shout out to the Friends of Westwood Hills. That's an organization and a group that over the last many years have helped to do trail maintenance, removal of invasive species. We do have some issues on this property with particularly Scotch broom. For those of you that have hiked here know how quickly that grows and how quickly it takes over. So quick shout out to Friends of Westwood Hill. All right, so can we continue on the history?
Yes, let's continue on the history.
So the city purchased the property in 1976, and one of the very first things, unfortunately, that happened was a fire.
What?
And the fire,
Even back then?
even back then, and it was devastating, and it closed the park for quite a long period of time. I want to also acknowledge again, Mike came back and got volunteers together to create fire breaks, to clear debris, to do all those things that are so present in our minds today. Took place here in 1976. In 78, a couple of years later, the city purchased a few additional acres to create the parking lot that just is in front of Lee and myself, to provide better access and ADA parking and those sorts of things. Early 80s, 1984, Mike helped to create and bring over a trailer from Vintage High to create the Carolyn Parr Nature Center, which is just to our left. So, this has become really not just a place for hiking and walking, but a place to teach kids about nature, a place to enjoy and learn. My kids grew up in Napa in the 1990s. They did a lot of summer camp programs, and I will tell you, bar none, their favorite was the Westwood Hills Nature Camp. And they would come here and hike trails, and to this day we come back and hike, and they remember what they learned at the nature camps in the 1990s.
That's cool.
So, it kind of started slow, started a little bit rough with a fire, but over the last 4 decades, this park has become such an asset to the community. And just sitting here today, we're watching so many people come and go and hike up the hill and enjoy open space. I wanted to just give a little bit of perspective of what that started for the city, if that's okay.
Oh yes, let's do that.
Because, not to, so I kind of feel like Westwood Hills a little bit blazed a trail to say, this is a really good
Nice
opportunity.
Nice pun.
I try. To create parks that are really dedicated to open space. And so today the city's portfolio of open space parks includes not just Westwood Hills, but Alston Park, Timber Hill Park, the Trancas Crossing, and the Oxbow Preserve are all considered open space parks there for passive use and enjoyment of nature. Just statistics and facts, that's about 325 acres in total, which represents just over 4.2 acres of open space park for every 1,000 residents in the city of Napa. That's a metric that's often used to say, how are we doing on creation of parks? And that's a really solid accomplishment.
Yeah, I would imagine that's far above the average for most communities.
It's something to be proud of, and I just think Westwood Hills is kind of the granddaddy of all of them, and something to celebrate as a local historic place.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's 45 years, so we can celebrate an anniversary.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday,
to
Westwood
Westwood
Hills.
Hills. Yeah. Well, Beth, thank you very much for just the great information and kind of reminding us to be appreciative of that which we drive by every day and maybe only use once or twice a year, but it's here forever.
It's
and,
here.
for
So come and enjoy
generations to
Westwood
come.
Hills. Come and enjoy Westwood Hills.
Thanks for joining us. Stay tuned for some more cool videos about the history of Napa.